Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for stopping by to check out my latest video. And today I'm here with a project share, and I really love how this one turned out. It's kind of a grungy vintage numbers type journal. It's a flashcard journal, and I did the tab binding on it, and I might have screwed up on it, but it still went together okay. But I might have did some of the tabs wrong, but it didn't matter because it's just kind of grungy and it's just for me, so it doesn't matter. But a couple of the supplies that I used, I did use some flashcards. That was kind of my main inspiration for this journal. Was I started with a bunch of flashcards, and I also used some time cards. And the flashcards, they're vintage ones, and I bought those from Julie at KS for You, or Craft Supplies for You. I believe she's .net, but I will put her information in the description box. And the day that I'm filming this, I did see that she still had the flashcards in her shop. I can't remember how many you get, but you get a handful for a couple of bucks, so it's pretty reasonable. And then digitals that I also was inspired by were from Lorna Taylor. She has these really fun, like, vintage number grungy digitals in her shop. And again, I will have Lorna's information listed below in the description box, so you guys can find her too for digitals. And then she also had some cabinet cards, and they print off like this size, but I did shrink them down to this size on my printer. So I did use a few of those in the journal. And then I had a couple of vintage kind of numbers from, these are called Shabby Age Printables number tags from the old design shop. And so I did use a couple of those tags just because I had them printed out from a past project, and they fit perfectly with this journal. And again, I used the tab binding. Again, I might not have done it quite right, but it doesn't really matter. And then everything else is kind of just leftover bits and pieces from my stash. I did layer up, you know, a lot of Lorna's little digital stuff. I used a little bit of music paper. I did try and tea dye most things, but most of the stuff was just remnants left over from past projects. I did make these rolled roses. At Christmas time, I made a Christmas tree that had rolled roses. They were all in the kind of the white color, but you can see I did grunge up a couple of them, added some eyelash trims. I did have some Tim Holtz, those little enamel numbers. I did sew around all of the cards before I did the tab binding on them so that they'd have that kind of grungy look to them with the black thread. And I also sewed on the ribbon. You can see I did a little stitch on both sides of this just to add a little bit of extra detail. And I had kind of some black or darker colored costume jewelry that came off of something from a long time ago. I'm not even quite sure. But here's the journal. And then I also use any scrapbooking paper that I had that might have had numbers in it. So I think I had a couple things that came from Graphic 45, or even some older Prima pads. I think that this numbers came from. That's a tea bag that I sewed onto this, and then I made it into kind of a double pocket. And inside of it, you can see I made some tags. This was scrapbooking paper, and I just put it on just a cut up piece of remnant from a file folder. I went through all my black lace remnants and tried to use up as much as I could on this journal. On the back, I did do some stamping so that you could journal on the back sides. You know, on some of them I tried to only add one or two little elements so that if you wanted to, you could still kind of journal around all these numbers. But I wanted to make it obvious that I was using flashcards on these. There are quite a few videos out there altering flashcards, but usually everybody covers up the numbers. And I wanted to be able to show at least partial pieces of the numbers. Here's one of those cabinet cards. And then I did some stamping. And the stamps that I used, one of the sets might have came from Spellbinders, and then the rest I think were like the Sam Pool ones that had numbers on them. That came off a graphic 45 paper. But again, you can kind of see the fun little grungy numbers and that were part of Lorna Taylor's kit. And then I just layered different things. I had some scrapbooking paper left over from a previous project that had all the rulers on them. So I thought, you know, since I was doing kind of a grungy number journal, that those would be fun to add. The tea-dyed lace and remnants left over. Some more stamping up there in the corner. This one's a long pocket. You can kind of see this one. You can see the actual time card a little bit better. That one doesn't have any numbers on it, but I figured, you know, it has the dates, and then of course you're supposed to put in your time. So if it was, you know, you worked in 8 to 5 or whatever, you know, you're supposed to write it in. So I thought it kind of worked with, to alternate with some of those in the journal along with the flashcards. And here was, you know, Lorna Taylor's digital right there. You can see right here too, that came off of hers. That came off of a graphic 45 paper pad. Music notes. And when I tried to use any remnants that I had from music paper, I tried to find ones that had numbers on them, just to kind of fit with the theme of the journal. And then I also went through my scrapbooking paper. Like this back here is just a remnant left over from a past project. I just tried to find ones that were kind of the grungy black color, just to kind of match. Some tea-dyed stuff or trim. I don't know if that was an applique or if that came off of a lace. And then on the back there's some spots to journal, and again just a little bit of the music note paper. On this one I did have a flip. So this one I have a scrapbooking paper that had the bingo numbers on it. I sewed on a pocket. I had this tag left over from a previous project, and I ended up just stamping the numbers on it, so you can journal on there. So this one does flip up. There's a spot to journal here, but again, you can just see kind of a little layered snippet or collage right there. One of Lorna Taylor's numbers and a Tim Holtz one, and just some more music paper. And I think I forgot to mention that some of her grungy numbers, I did shrink them down to make them that size. Just so you know, again, some layering. Using one of her grungy numbers, and then a little bit of stamping in the background. This one is a paper bag, and this one kind of opens up. I just attached it with a piece of ribbon right there so that you can journal here or here. And on the inside, I made a little journaling card. And again, I tried to stamp on the backs of all of the journaling cards or tags that I did. And then you can also write back here. And again, just a piece that I ripped off of one of the Lorna Taylor's digitals with the numbers. And then again, you can see a little bit of the flashcards showing. Another little collage down here with some lace and some trims and eyelash trims and the digital. I did also, as you can see, I did tea dye the flashcards a couple of times to make them look really grungy like that. See, this one I did sew on some part of a little placemat that I cut apart. And then I also did a little bit of stamping on that one. Here's the little piece that I made. Again, the cabinet cards, and then I cut out the numbers 1, 2, 3, and I tried to find the cabinet cards. Like this one just had 1 person, this one had 2, and this one had 3. And I added eyelash trim behind it, and then this is just a piece of scrapbooking paper. And when you open it up, I just layered on a piece of music paper and then a remnant of one of those measuring tape pieces that I had of a scrapbooking paper. I thought this was still light enough that you could journal on it if you journaled on it in a darker color. So I love how that one turned out. And then on this one, I have a little tuck spot down here. Again, you can kind of see the grungy number, and then I added some lace and trim, and then also up here I have a little collage with the number, and there's some trims behind there. In this one I used graphic 45 piece of paper. Again, this was left over from a past project from several years ago, and I stamped on it. The tag was already done, but I stamped on it, and here's one of those old design shop tags. And this one I just did add the rickrack to it, and then also sewed around it. I did stamp on the back and stenciled on that one also. So I had a lot of fun doing this one. When I showed my husband this one, he said, well, that's different. So I don't know if he really liked this one or not. So, but I liked how it turned out. I don't think he's used to seeing me do really grungy stuff. So he's usually used to me seeing stuff with the shabby chic and the laces and the trims. And then right here was just a remnant that I added, a coffee dyed doily that I sewed on for a little pocket. And again, one of the tags from Lorna's kit. And again, I sewed around it and added some stamping on that one. Again, you can see that there's a little cluster down in the corner. This one was kind of a long little tuck spot. You know, I layered music paper and some grungy like crochet type trim. This was some material off of a pillowcase that I was trying to use up, that I've used up over the years, and I'm getting down there on that one. So I just kind of trying to use it up. Again, just a little collage down at the bottom. And another one of those old design shop tags, and with the Roman numerals on it, and then also some stamping on the back. Again, I'm pretty sure most of them were Sam Poole's Creative Expressions number stamps, but a couple of them, like I said, I think came from a Spellbinders one. It was a Kathy Holden set. Here's one of the cabinet cards. And this one I think I made into a little like opening spot that you could journal on the inside. One of Tim Holtz's little labels. Then when you flip this one over, some more of that scrapbooking paper that just had numbers on it. And I did stamp on the back side of that one also. I think I stamped it upside down, but oh well, it happens. And then just some layering up here on the tuck spot. Again, part of that little pillowcase that I was trying to use up. Remnants left over from a bridal dress. This one I added a little clip to the side. And then I attached, I had this charm that had the number 11 on it. I picked that up at a thrift store. There was a couple other ones on there, but I took those off. And then I had the little clock charm that I also added. And then underneath here, I have kind of a little tuck spot. This does come off, so you can take this off. You can journal on the back. This piece comes off, and you can journal on it. That's what the back side of that one looks like. And then another tag from the old design shop. And I thought about gluing this one on as the tuck spot, but then I decided that it might be nice to be able to, you know, take it off and actually use it as writing space, since this one didn't have a ton of writing space on it. And again, it's just kind of one of those bulldog clips. Nothing really special other than, you know, that I attached the fun stuff to it. Another little piece of the digital there. Again, this was part of that pillowcase that I had ripped up a long time ago, and then I just kind of made a little ruffle out of it and I sewed on it. A piece that came off of a flash card with some different numbers on it. And then again, you can see one of the cabinet cards that I shrunk a little bit and I sewed around. Another one of the digital numbers from the digital kit. And then again, on the tuck spot, you can see I did a little bit of collaging with scrapbooking paper, and there's some cheesecloth on that one, I believe. Again, a doily up here, some pieces that came off of that placemat. This time with the old design shop tag, I made it into a tuck spot. And then you can just kind of see I layered up some laces that I had that I did tea dye. And then here was one of the Lorna Taylors where I left the numbers attached to make a little bit longer tag. And then at the top, I just attached some pieces out of my scrap bin, just some of the flowers and a piece of doily. And then on the back side of this one, I stamped a number 3. And then here you can see I used kind of a grungy doily. This one was kind of weird. I did try to tea dye it, but there was a little bit of like someone had spilled something green on it. So I thought it would still kind of work for this journal. And inside of it, I used one of Lorna Taylor's digital numbers. And then I think this is just, yeah, this is just tea dyed paper. So I'm not going to open that one up. There isn't anything. I didn't stamp on that one, I don't think. And then at the top, you can see I have a piece of the scrapbooking paper. And then on this one, I had a little bit different type of flashcard with division. It was from a different kit that I had picked up at a thrift store. So this one I just made into a flip up. This side was normal paper, and then this side was kind of the shiny paper. So I figured you could still kind of journal on that side. But just a collage, little snippet in the corner. And again, a couple of tags. This one's a Tim Holtz one. And then I used Lorna Taylor's to make them into little tuck spots there at the bottom. And added lace on the bottom of that one. On this one, I did do a belly band. So here's a kind of a vintage piece of material trim. And I did coffee dye that one, or tea dye it. I tea dyed the flower rosettes up at the top. You can see this came off of a bingo card, a scrapbooking piece of bingo card. And I think it came from, you know, the bottom strips when you cut off that says the name of the company for the scrapbooking paper. This was just a piece that was on that, and so it was just a remnant. So I added that. I made just a little journaling spot here. And I just added one of Lorna Taylor's numbers there. And then this little journal card I made from a different flashcard set. And again, this one I just added lace on the side and I sewed around it. Again, I tried to sew around most things. Not everything, like the paper here I didn't, but all the journal, all the flashcards I did sew around. See, this one I had made a little tuck spot pocket thing, and this paper right here is raised. It's embossed with like a velvet paper, so it's really soft. And I just had that left over like from a wedding card that I did a long time ago that was black and cream colored, and so I've added that on here because it matched. Again, kind of did a layered snippet with different pieces there, also up there. This one I made kind of a long skinny journal tag. And this one ended up being a little grungier than I thought just because my sewing machine had issues. So, but I left it. It works for the theme. And then the next page, I added a few things to, there's a pocket that I used of lace. You can see I had some rickrack and one of the digital numbers. I added some flatback pearls to that one. I added one of the strips of the ruler scrapbooking paper. And so you can journal on the back of that. Also, I made a little, I don't know if this one, yep, this one also opens. This one I did a number 1 on the inside and just layered some lace and then the digital on that one. On this one, I decided to leave pretty much open. This is the back of one of those time cards that I use for the back cover. And I just had some numbers at the top and then a little piece of the remnant of the ruler scrapbooking paper and layered up some of the laces. And then on the back side, you can see the time card, and then I took one of the strips that I cut out from Lorna Taylor's digital, and I just glued that down the middle. I just thought that looked kind of nice. And you can see that the cover I did make again with one of the time cards, and then I layered up one of the flash cards on top of it. And I just attached my closure underneath the 2 layers right there. And then this one just kind of free floating. So if you were to add to it, then there's more than enough space to still close it and use it. I am really happy with the way this turned out. I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm just gonna call this kind of a vintage grunge little flashcard journal, I think. And I'd been wanting to try the tab binding, so this kind of gave me an opportunity to try it. Again, I don't think my tab binding was 100%. I think I screwed up on a couple of them, but it still went together, so that was fine. And I think part of the reason why was I was so concerned about making sure I had all my flashcards sewed around that I kind of lost track of where I was supposed to be putting all the tabs once I did that. So that was part of my problem on that one, but that's okay. Like I said, it's supposed to be a grungy journal, and I love how it turned out. Let me know what you guys think, and thank you again so much for watching. And until next time, have a wonderful day and happy crafting.